Have you ever had a feeling, just a strange gut feeling, that something wasn't right, that someone was watching you even though you were in a sunny, crowded place, surrounded by friends? For Lars Mittank, that feeling may have started long before he reached the airport, but by the time he ran barefoot out of the Varna International Airport on July 8, 2014, it had completely consumed him. Lars Joachim Mittank was a 28-year-old German man from the quiet town of Itzehoe in northern Germany. A normal guy by all accounts. Tall, slim, friendly. He worked as a technician at a power plant and lived a routine, stable life. No history of mental illness, no signs of instability. Just an ordinary young man who wanted a week off to enjoy the summer sun with his friends. On June 3, 2014, Lars boarded a plane to Bulgaria with a group of close friends. Their destination was Sunny Beach, a popular party resort on the coast of the Black Sea. Known for its cheap drinks, endless bars, and wild nightlife, Sunny Beach had become a magnet for European tourists, especially young Germans. It was a place where you could let go, lose yourself in music, and forget your problem. But for Lars, this trip would mark the beginning of a terrifying spiral. At first, everything seemed fine. Lars partied with his friends, laughed, drank, danced. He posted selfies, joked around at the beach, and even watched football. Germany was playing in the World Cup. On July 3, he and his friends got into a small argument with another group of German tourists at a McDonald's near the resort. According to his friends, the disagreement was over football teams. Lars supported Werder Bremen, and the other group was for Bayern Munich. It wasn't a serious fight, just some drunken shouting, but something about that moment stuck with Lars. That night, Lars told his friends he had been attacked by 4 men. He claimed they were the same Bayern fans from earlier. He said they beat him up and caused damage to his ear. However, his friends didn't witness the attack. They only found out when Lars returned to their hotel with a swollen ear and told them what had happened. Some reports later questioned whether the fight actually occurred, but regardless, Lars was injured and in pain. The next day, Lars went to see a local doctor. The diagnosis, a ruptured eardrum. The doctor advised him not to fly and prescribed the antibiotic cefuroxime. His friends had already booked their return flights for July 7, so Lars made a decision. He told them to go home without him. He'd stay an extra day or two, recover, and take a later flight. It wasn't unusual. People miss flights all the time for medical reasons. But what followed was anything but normal. Instead of checking into another hotel near the beach, Lars chose to stay at a cheaper hotel in a less touristy part of Varna, the Hotel Color. It was close to the airport, modest, and relatively empty. That night, Lars called his mother, Sandra Mittank, and whispered something strange into the phone. "Can you cancel my credit cards?" His voice was hushed, tense. He told her that people were trying to rob him, that he was hiding, that he didn't feel safe. Concerned, his mother asked him to explain, but he wouldn't. He just repeated that someone was after him and he couldn't talk too loudly. When she asked who he meant, he refused to answer. The next morning, the receptionist at Hotel Color described Lars's behavior as erratic. He seemed nervous, agitated. He paced around, looked out windows, and acted like he was being watched. At one point, he reportedly hid in an elevator and refused to come out. Staff later told reporters that Lars had left the hotel around 1 a.m., then returned, then left again, restless, afraid, almost paranoid. By July 8th, Lars was due to fly back to Germany. He arrived at Varna International Airport early in the morning. Security footage shows him walking in calmly, carrying a small yellow plastic bag, most likely containing his prescription medication. He even checked in for his flight. But just before boarding, something happened. Inside the terminal, Lars suddenly appeared distressed. According to airport medical staff, he had visited the airport doctor, complaining again of ear pain. During that visit, a construction worker entered the room, just part of the regular airport maintenance team, but Lars's reaction was immediate and extreme. He stood up, muttered something about not trusting the man, and ran. CCTV footage from the airport captured what has now become one of the most chilling true crime videos on the internet. At exactly 5:59 a.m., Lars is seen sprinting out of the airport terminal. He leaves behind all his belongings, his luggage, passport, wallet, even his phone. He runs through the parking lot, past the security barrier, and disappears into the surrounding woods. No one ever saw him again. His mother, Sandra, called the airport authorities the moment she heard. Police searched the area, helicopters scanned the forests, and posters with Lars's face were plastered across Bulgaria. But nothing, no trace, not a single confirmed sighting, not a body, just silence. The question that haunts everyone is this: what exactly happened to Lars Mittank between the night of July 7 and the morning of July 8? What did he see? Who did he fear? Was he hallucinating, suffering a psychotic break? Was he being followed? Or was he running from something very real? To this day, nearly a decade later, no one knows, and it all began with a simple vacation, a trip with friends to the beach. After his friends flew back to Germany on July 7, 2014, Lars Mittank was alone in Varna, Bulgaria, injured and increasingly paranoid. He had chosen to stay at a modest 2-star hotel near the city center called Hotel Collar, far from the parties of Sunny Beach, and even further from the calm, smiling man he'd been just a few days earlier. The hotel manager later told reporters that Lars seemed nervous from the moment he checked in. He walked with a cautious pace, looked over his shoulder constantly, and kept to himself. That first night, he didn't sleep well. He left the hotel during the night and came back hours later. He was afraid, the receptionist recalled, like someone was following him. On the evening of July 7th, Lars called his mother Sandra in Germany. The tone of his voice sent a chill down her spine. "I don't feel safe, there are people following me," he whispered. He asked her to cancel all his bank cards, but his wallet was still with him, untouched. Sandra tried to calm him down, but Lars wasn't listening. "Don't talk too loud," he told her. "I'll send you a message. Don't trust anyone." Then he hung up. What exactly happened to Lars during that night remains unknown, but what's certain is this: his mental state drastically deteriorated within 24 hours. Some speculate that the cefuroxime antibiotics prescribed for his ear injury could have triggered a rare psychological side effect. In rare cases, the medication has been linked to hallucinations, anxiety, and even psychosis. But no medical test would ever confirm that, because Lars never returned. July 8, 2014 started like any other morning at Varna Airport. Surveillance footage shows Lars entering the terminal at around 5:30 a.m. He was calm, collected, dressed in a yellow shirt and jeans. He carried a small plastic bag reportedly containing his medical documents and prescription. He checked in for his flight to Hamburg. The worst seemed over, but then, at some point before boarding, Lars visited the airport's medical center. According to the staff, he complained of discomfort in his ear, possibly worried about the pressure from the flight. While inside the room, something or someone alarmed him. According to witnesses, a construction worker in a high-visibility vest entered the room. He had no interaction with Lars, just a man doing his job. But for Lars, that man might have been the final trigger. His body language changed instantly. He grew tense. His eyes darted around. Then, without a word, Lars stood up, grabbed his bag, and ran. Airport surveillance footage shows him jogging through the terminal, past other passengers, past staff, and out through the automatic sliding doors. He dropped his bag, leaving all his belongings behind. Then, barefoot, he sprinted across the airport parking lot. No one followed him. There were no threats, no confrontation. He jumped over a fence, ran across a field, and vanished into the woods surrounding Varna Airport. And that was the last confirmed sighting of Lars Mittank. Police arrived quickly after Lars' disappearance. They searched the forested area surrounding the airport with dogs, helicopters, and drones. They found nothing. No footprints, no clothing, no signs of struggle. His passport, wallet, and cell phone were all left behind at the airport. His entire life was in that bag. If Lars had planned to disappear, he did so in the most disorganized, chaotic way imaginable. Back in Germany, his mother, Sandra, was devastated. She flew to Bulgaria immediately, retracing her son's final steps, visiting Hotel Color, speaking with airport authorities, plastering flyers around Varna and Sunny Beach. She even hired private investigators. Every theory was explored: mental breakdown, kidnapping, organ trafficking. Foul play. But no theory answered every question. Some believed Lars suffered a sudden psychotic break, perhaps triggered by stress, medication, or a head injury. That could explain the paranoia, the flight from the airport, the fear of strangers. But if it was mental illness, why hadn't he shown any signs before? His friends insisted he was perfectly normal before the alleged fight. Others believed something more sinister occurred. Lars's claim that they were after him raised alarms. Was he being followed? Was the attack in Sunny Beach more serious than it seemed? Could it have involved criminal elements? Or was it, as some suggest, just his imagination breaking apart under pressure? The CCTV video of Lars running out of Varna Airport quickly went viral. Millions watched in horror as the barefoot tourist bolted into the unknown. Online sleuths from Reddit and YouTube began dissecting every frame. Some claimed to see shadows behind him. Others believed his behavior matched someone being stalked. None of it was proven. The footage became a haunting symbol, a man running in broad daylight with no one chasing him. Was he escaping someone invisible or something in his own mind? Back at Hotel Color, investigators found little to help. His room was undisturbed, no signs of violence, but a security camera showed Lars behaving erratically the night before, pacing the hallway, hiding in the elevator, peeking through windows. In one particularly eerie moment, hotel staff reported that Lars had tried to leave through a side door, only to quickly return, muttering something about "they're watching me." The police had no answers. Interpol issued a missing person alert. German authorities collaborated with their Bulgarian counterparts. Forests, beaches, and nearby towns were searched repeatedly, but Lars had simply disappeared. A few days later, a Bulgarian truck driver reported seeing a man who looked like Lars walking along a remote road near Galata Forest, south of Varna. The man was disoriented, alone, wearing only a shirt and jeans. But the lead went nowhere. No confirmation, no follow-up sightings. Weeks passed, then months. The case began to fade from the news cycle, but not for Sandra Mittank. She kept searching, appearing on German television, sharing her son's photo, asking people to come forward. She said she believed he was still alive. Somewhere. And in truth, there was no evidence to the contrary. No body, no crime scene, no final call. As a man who ran from something only he seemed to understand. When Lars Mittank vanished on July 8, 2014, he left behind more than just a backpack and a flight ticket. He left behind an international mystery, a chilling disappearance that would baffle authorities, captivate the internet, and devastate a family searching for answers across borders. His final known moments were captured by Varna Airport's CCTV, barefoot, disheveled, fleeing like prey into the sunlit wilderness beyond the terminal. No one was chasing him, but something, real or imagined, was driving him. That sprint became the subject of endless analysis. Why did he leave his passport and phone behind? Why did he run from the airport doctor's office? Was the construction worker who walked in really just an innocent bystander? Interpol immediately issued a yellow notice, flagging Lars as a missing person in need of urgent assistance. German and Bulgarian police formed a joint investigation task force, exchanging information, comparing case files, and exploring every lead. But weeks went by, and the trail turned cold. Varna's surrounding terrain, forests, fields, marshland, was rugged and sprawling. Search and rescue teams combed the area with dogs and drones. Not a single item of Lars's clothing was ever found. No shirt, no shoes, no body, no physical trace. Bulgarian authorities conducted dozens of interviews, hotel staff, airport workers, locals who may have seen a stranger wandering the roads. The truck driver who claimed to have spotted someone like Lars near Galata Forest sparked a brief moment of hope. He looked lost, the driver recalled. Dirty, barefoot, like he'd been running a long time. But when police searched the area, they found nothing. Back in Germany, Sandra Mittank, Lars's mother, refused to give up. She became the public face of the search, appearing on talk shows, holding up photos of Lars, pleading with travelers, tourists, and anyone near Bulgaria's coast, "If you've seen my son, please, please say something." She hung posters in 5 languages, German, Bulgarian, English, Russian, Turkish, along ferry terminals, rest stops, beaches, and ports. She hired private investigators to check nearby clinics, shelters, even monasteries. Some leads suggested Lars might have suffered amnesia or a psychotic break and was living among the homeless. Others believed something darker. Some online sleuths suspected foul play. Could Lars have stumbled into criminal activity in Sunny Beach? Was he attacked for real, not just paranoid? His behavior had changed drastically after that night at the bar. What if the men he feared weren't imaginary? His friends denied knowledge of any serious confrontation. They said Lars got into a minor argument over football teams, but they weren't there when he claimed he was followed. They didn't see what happened when he checked into Hotel Color. All they knew was that Lars changed, and then he was gone. As the mystery grew, so did public interest. On YouTube, the airport CCTV footage was uploaded with dramatic music and theories. Lars Mittank, the most bizarre disappearance on the internet, millions of views poured in. People around the world left comments. He's clearly having a breakdown. Why did he leave his stuff? That's not someone running away voluntarily. There's more to this than we know. Reddit threads dissected his facial expressions, his posture, even the timing of his steps. Was there a shadow behind him? Was the construction worker suspicious? Why did airport security let him leave? No definitive answers emerged. In 2016, 2 years after Lars's disappearance, a hiker in Romania reported seeing a man matching his description near the Carpathian Mountains. He had German features, seemed confused, the hiker claimed. But when police arrived, the man was gone. No trace, no confirmation. The same year, a homeless shelter in Warsaw contacted German police after a volunteer believed they'd seen Lars. Investigators followed up. It wasn't him. Tips continued to pour in, sightings in Turkey, Greece, even Canada. All were investigated, none were real. By 2018, more than 7,000 tips had been reviewed. None brought authorities any closer. But Lars's case did more than confound investigators. It exposed gaps in international coordination, mental health support for travelers, and safety standards in tourist hotspots. Sunny Beach, once a haven for young Europeans chasing cheap drinks and wild nights, came under scrutiny. Reports of street fights, injuries, and poor police response surfaced. It's like the Wild West in summer, one traveler said in a German newspaper. No rules, no support. The cefuroxy medication Lars had been prescribed also drew attention. Medical journals confirmed it could cause rare psychiatric side effects: anxiety, hallucinations, restlessness. Was this the true catalyst? Did it trigger something latent inside Lars? If so, why wasn't he evaluated more thoroughly before being allowed to board a plane? At the center of it all, Sandra Mittank remained a constant force. She launched a campaign called Find Lars, with donations funding missing persons databases, search efforts, and mental health awareness for travelers. In interviews, she never lost hope. "I believe Lars is alive," she told Deutsche Welle. "I believe something scared him that day, and I believe someone somewhere knows what happened." Private investigators followed rumors into the Balkan Mountains, down the Black Sea coast, into mental institutions. The family even used facial recognition AI to scan crowds from satellite images and security footage. Still no Lars. And yet, to this day, no one can explain how a man could run barefoot from an airport in broad daylight, leave his identity behind, and vanish without a trace. Some theorize that Lars might have died from exposure shortly after fleeing. The forests around Varna can be deadly, even terrain, wild animals, extreme summer heat. If he collapsed somewhere remote, decomposition in nature could have left little behind. Others suggest that he may have made it out of the area, confused, hitchhiking north toward Romania or south toward Turkey. Without ID or money, he could have survived on the fringes of society. But how, in an era of digital footprints, cameras, and face scans, could no one have identified him in a decade? The only thing everyone agrees on is this: Lars didn't leave because he wanted to disappear. He was afraid. And for reasons no one fully understands, he ran into silence. By 2024, a full decade had passed since Lars Mittank ran barefoot into the Bulgarian wilderness. In that time, thousands of people had come and gone through Varna Airport. Hundreds of travelers had passed through the same terminal where Lars vanished, but none had left the same mark. His disappearance had long since crossed the boundaries of a family tragedy. It had become a symbol, a riddle, a wound that would not close. His mother, Sandra Mittank, now in her late 50s, continued to search. She never stopped. She visited Bulgaria every summer, walked the same streets her son once did, sat in the airport cafe where he paced in fear, prayed at the small Orthodox chapel near the exit where he vanished. Locals knew her. Some joined her in silent vigils. Others whispered apologies for a country that had no answers. "My son is not just a headline," she told German television in 2022. "He is a person. He is love. He is still out there." Over time, Lars's case inspired profound change. Travel blogs began listing Sunny Beach among Europe's most dangerous party spots, not for crime, but for the lack of support when things went wrong. Travel agencies warned young tourists to have backup plans, insurance, and to register with embassies abroad. In 2017, a new medical protocol for tourists was introduced at Varna Airport. Staff were trained to identify signs of psychological distress. Emergency medical responders were stationed in terminals. The changes were unofficially known as the Lars Protocol. Interpol, meanwhile, used Lars's case as a blueprint to modernize missing persons alerts across EU borders. Facial recognition databases were expanded, cross-country information sharing was streamlined, a centralized system was created for reporting sightings in real time. A digital eye opened, one Lars never had watching over him. But despite the awareness, despite the reforms, the central question remained unanswered. What happened to Lars Mittank? Was it a mental breakdown triggered by cefuroxime? Was it paranoia from an assault that really occurred? Was he chased by people or fears no one else could see? Or did something else happen in those moments after he fled the airport, something no camera caught, something the earth swallowed? In 2020, a new lead briefly reignited hope. A German hiker in northern Greece claimed to have spoken to a barefoot man who wouldn't give his name but spoke fluent German and seemed lost. He had sad eyes, the hiker said. "I remember that. Authorities investigated. They found nothing." Again and again, these shadows emerged. In Serbia, in Romania, in Istanbul, but they faded as quickly as they came. Each flicker of hope felt like a cruel reminder of just how silent the world can be when you need it most. Sandra, aging but determined, started a foundation, Lars's Light. Its mission was simple: help families of missing persons abroad, provide resources, fund searches, and push for safer tourism. Her voice, once a trembling plea, had grown into a quiet force. No one should feel as helpless as I did that day. But her message reached people, other families, those who had lost children, siblings, parents while traveling, joined her cause. Stories came from Peru, Thailand, Egypt, even New York. In Lars's absence, he became a torchbearer for all who vanish in unfamiliar lands. By 2023, a German documentary titled The Vanishing Point, Lars Mittank, aired on Art, breaking viewing records. It included never-before-seen footage from Bulgarian authorities, testimonies from hotel staff, and voice recordings from Sandra's early calls to the police. Viewers were left shaken, not just by what happened, but by what did. The film ended not with answers, but with Sandra sitting by the Varna shoreline at sunset, whispering, "Come home, Lars, just walk through the door. That's all I need." Clips of her hugging airport workers, lighting candles, crying in silence. They didn't ask for pity, they asked for attention, for people to care, and people did. By 2025, Lars's story had been viewed over 50 million times online, translated into 12 languages, and studied in criminal psychology courses across Europe. He became a name people remembered, even if they didn't know why. For many, he was the boy who ran. For others, he was the brother who disappeared without a goodbye. But for those closest, especially Sandra, he was still just Lars, the boy who loved Werder Bremen, the quiet son who helped his mother carry groceries, the young man who never got to tell his story.
Some stories never end, they just fade away. If this one left you feeling uneasy, good. That means it stayed with you, just like those who vanished and never returned. Subscribe to Drifted and follow the stories that disappear into the dark.